so we talked about this yesterday. Let's just continue on this topic. Mount position, traditionally challenging position to actually submit somebody from if they're have a decent defense. It's like at a certain level, like it's just really hard to submit people from mount, right? You might have discovered that, right? So the same concept applies. We want to get behind their elbow, right? And that's going to allow us to start getting more submission opportunities, right? Same way standing, we want to get behind their back, get behind their elbows. So here, I want to separate his hands. Now, the traditional way I learned this was like to put two hands on one and then just try to overpower him and take his hand to the floor. It can work. This way, new way is a little bit more, a little better, right? Where we go cross grip. I go my right hand to his right hand, my palm up, right? Now I can drive diagonally across. I want to take his hand outside of his shoulder, right? I can go either side. Now, the benefit of this is one, I have a better angle to push laterally, right? I'm pushing across. This hand to push across. This one's good for pushing down, right? It's hard to get that diagonal lateral push here. The other thing is the opening of my hand, right? As you can see, the opening of my hand is on this side. So if he wants to strip the grip, he has to pull his hand in the direction I want him to go anyway, right? So if he tries to pull out, I can always catch his hand on the way out and then trap it with the other arm, right? And if he wants to strip it with this hand, he's got to pull this way, which means I can quickly take advantage and cross grip to the other side and pin that hand to the floor, right? So we want to work these cross grips here to get his hand outside his shoulder, right? This way, either he pulls out and I can catch it with this hand, or he tries to grab it with this hand and I can go across that way. So this is a little more dynamic hand fighting situation, a little more technical as opposed to just sitting there pushing on it and hoping that you can overpower them, right? So once I get his hand out to the side, right, I staple it with this hand and I come around the head and then feed it back to my right hand. Now I have a good position here. His arm is separated from his body. I can bring my knee up so he can't get his elbow back. I can start to slide under here, look to attack an Americana, right? A good guy, if he's good enough to defend all of this, he realizes when his arm is here, this is trouble for him, right? And then he's probably gonna make a decision here. Do I want to give up my Americana or do I have to save this arm? And the only way to save this arm is to bring this other arm across. It's a dilemma. He knows it's a mistake, right? But otherwise, he's going to get Americana'd if you have this tight grip here. If I can get this far, right, it's going to be very hard for him to get this arm back without sacrificing the other arm. So as he brings this other arm across, now I pinch my knees together so he can't get back on his back, right? And then now I look to attack this arm. My chest comes down on top of the tricep, right? And I try to get my elbow behind his elbow as soon as possible. Now, with my chest down and my elbow here, he tries to get his back to the floor. Hard, right? Because now, where am I? Behind the elbow. This is the main thing I want to get to, behind the elbow. Once I get behind the elbow, now I got to make a play for the top arm, right? So I was hands on this arm, right? As soon as this comes across, now I switch here. And there's going to be a little hand fight here, right? It's going to be hard, right? I'm going to have to trap that arm and somehow feed it to my hand and then get my figure four. Okay, once I get my figure four, now we're in business. We can start looking for the back take or all the finishes, submissions. Right, let's do the back take from here. Right, I slide my knee up, I plant my foot here, I fall back to my butt. Once I'm on my butt, I don't want to keep going backwards. I want to go sideways to my left butt cheek, right? This way, pull him over the top, and then I can lock my body triangle or my hooks or whatever leg configuration we want. Right, just super important when we're doing these things is just watch these little details. When I sit back here, if I just go to my back, he's either gonna slide out or he's gonna turn to face me and get in my closed guard, which is neither one of which is I want. So as I go here, like look at how it's so easy for him to turn and face me when I just fall backwards, and then I don't have the back anymore. So when I sit down to my hip, I don't fall backwards, I fall across to my other butt cheek, and that pulls him forward, makes it hard for him to turn. And then I can lock up the back position. So let's just drill that cross grip, right? Staple the hand, go under the head, start to attack the Americana legitimately, right? Person on bottom defend. A brief like footnote here. If you've never done an Americana, once you lock this up, you can finish with your arm over the head, but usually you just pop the head out and then now you lift the elbow and you have the submission. But this is just a nice tight, because I can put the pressure on his face with my chin. Once I lock it up here and everything is tight, I just have to let go of his head. I just flare my elbow, put it back here, and I have that, right? This way, right, if I don't capture the head, it just leaves him more room to start like squirming around and potentially getting out. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So now when you sense all of this danger, this other arm comes across and you want to fight my hands, right? You want to either, push them off so you can take your arm out, or you want to grab your own hand or your own wrist and pull it towards the center. Yeah, and pull it back in. If his hand's up here, I don't have the Americana, right? So he pulls his arm back in, he drives his elbows to his chest again, and now I'm back to square one. Okay? So make it a legitimate fight there. Attack the Americana, like legitimately. Person on bottom, reach across and try to extricate that arm, right? Fight the hands, pull your arm back in, right? Make it a little bit of a battle there, because that's realistic. And then during that battle, person's gonna trap the top arm and then cinch up that back head and arm, figure four, and then take the back. Cool? Okay, 1, 2, 3.